Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
Greetings, Bat Family. Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com. It is your one-stop shop for all things Holy BatCast. You can also find us all over social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast and you will find us. And if you love the show, you want to help support the show, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. We had a lot of Patreon shoutouts on the last episode, but it's only been a couple of days, so no new ones in the past few days. But it's always a good time to thank our patrons again. So thank you guys again for keeping the show rolling. It means the world to us. So huge thank you to all our patrons. We know you don't have to do it, but you do it, which is what makes you heroes like Batman. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so if you are looking for other shows to check out, you can check those out at rf4rm.com. And as always, I am your Bat host, your Bat buddy. It's Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. This episode we wanted to do actually a few days from now was the original plan because we haven't talked about news, and there have been some things that are worth talking about over the past few days, or the past few weeks for that matter, and the Wayne Manor mailbox is again busting at the seams, and because the last episode was the length of Batman Forever, we didn't have time to add the emails on that, so we wanted to catch up on all that stuff. We were going to do it a few days from now, but last night, or at least in China it was last night, I guess for people in the States it was in the morning, a huge bomb was dropped. And we need to talk about that, and sooner the better. So we're going to talk about that bomb, which you guys are probably aware of, but I'm gonna hold it back for now. Lots of other news, just kind of the latest and greatest around DC and what's happening. And then we are going to try and catch up on your emails, because y'all just keep writing, and we love it. It's great, but it starts to stress me out, and I'm like, no, we got to answer these, so we got to do that. Joining me for all of that and more, it is my Bat brother from down under. He is the Robert Pattinson to my Michael Keaton. How about that? It's Brendan Lowe.
I do sparkle. What can I say?
You sparkle and you shine. And I'm old and decrepit, but no less cool.
No, definitely not. Good Lord, what a 48 hours it's been since we last recorded.
What a week, man. And but a good week. Well, not all good. Not all good. Some bad, some good. I don't even know how to feel, Brendan. I don't know how to feel.
Well, without, you haven't made the announcement yet, but there was a comment in our Real Fans group chat today that our pal Tim Rudy made about, feeling bad about wanting to celebrate one piece of news because of the other piece of news. And I was like, look, if you want to celebrate the good side of it, do it. I was. It's sad that the other news happened, but you know what I mean? As a Bat fan, this is massive. Celebrate it, of course, but also, you can pay your respects to what, happened with Joel, and you know what I mean? It is okay to be happy for the one piece of news, but it does
sad
suck
about other news. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. No, I agree. I mean, and that's why I'm a whirlwind of emotions, because it's all the feelings. It's happy, it's excitement, it's sad, it's melancholy, it's confused, it's curious. It's all the emotions. And I'm not used to feeling my own feelings, Brendan. I don't know what to do about this.
Well, we're, cis white males.
We're not allowed to feel feelings. This is not okay. No. I'm not doing it. Okay. Should we get the bad news out of the way first, maybe?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do the bad news first, because we lost not just one, but two iconic members of the Bat family over the past couple weeks. So the first one was on see, I don't even know what day it is. It was on June 11th. So it has been a couple of weeks since it happened, but I still want to make sure we acknowledge it and pay our respects, and that is the legendary Denny O'Neil.
Yeah.
So yeah, Denny, he passed away on June 11th. So yeah, as of this recording, what week and a half ago?
Yeah, close to it.
And yeah, that was a real surprise and really sad because he is just legendary when it comes to especially Batman, but I mean just DC comics in general. So he's someone who's been working in the industry since, gosh, what, the 70s? Yeah, his breakthrough came in 1970. I've got the little obit up here that DC published. Yeah, 1970 when he worked with Neil Adams and redefined Batman. So it was when he and Neil Adams teamed up to bring Batman back to his roots and reimagined him again for a new generation as a darker, more serious character. They finally left behind the camp of the 60s, and it was Denny and Neil that made Batman serious again. So, I mean, without that, you don't get the next 20 years of Batman stories. And then, in addition to that, he, of course, did some really influential and hallmark stuff with Green Lantern and Green Arrow, you know, really tackling issues of especially the 70s.
Hard traveling heroes or something it was called, if my memory serves, or something like that, was it?
Yeah, it was the Green Lantern and Green Arrow book where, you know, he took on racism and drugs and just, big hot button issues of the 70s through comics and changed the landscape there. And then he was the editor of all the Batman titles for DC starting in 1986 until 2001 when he retired. And that's how...
I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and that's how I knew him, is his name was on every Batman comic I purchased from the moment I got into Batman comics, and frankly, till the moment I sort of fell out of Batman comics. I've since come back, but yeah, probably around 2000, 2001 is where I sort of lost track. But his name was on every single one, and all the little editor notes of like, oh yeah, you know, blankety, 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 and it would always be signed Denny. So it was like, he always just sort of felt like a member of the family because for every Batman comic I read in the height of my Bat fandom, or at least my height in that time, he was always there.
That's probably where I first saw the name then, was because, I mean, you know, everyone knows who listens to this show, I was a massive reader of the Batman Adventures comics. And if his name was in there anywhere, I definitely would have seen it, because it's a name that I remember being familiar with before actually realizing who he was when I came back to Batman, you know, in 2005 when Batman Begins came out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, a hell of a career, and just left an indelible mark on Batman and his family and his world. And yeah, when you think of the very best Batman writers, Denny O'Neil is always in the conversation. Co-creator of Ra's al Ghul as well.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, truly a legend, and just shared so much passion and intelligence in the way he wrote the characters and the way he pushed the medium forward of using comics to tell very, timely stories that really spoke to the world that we were living in at that time.
Yeah. And I mean, I have to say too, I was a big fan of his question run that he did in the mid 80s as well. I've got all the trades. I haven't read them for quite a while. But I fell in love with the question through Justice League Unlimited. And I sort of ended up getting the whole run of trades that he did from the mid 80s. I think it started in 86, and that was a really good run too.
Yeah. I never read that one, but now I'm kind of interested. I mean, and the nice thing is, like, sorry, not for you, but for DC Universe, they, you know, it's like, oh, remembering Denny O'Neil and really bringing up some of his, most iconic stories and sort of the quintessential nice. Denny O'Neil.
Well, if the question run's on there, check it out, because it was a good read. It was sort of branded for mature readers. But you know, even by today's standards, it's probably just a normal comic. But yeah, it's a really good series.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some great like extras and little documentaries on DC Universe that has Denny O'Neil speaking about his work with Batman. there's like a little mini series that's like, it's called like Batmen or something, where it's essentially just creators and artists and writers who have touched Batman in a very strong way over the years, and it's like little interviews with them, and I recently watched those on DC Universe, and that was pretty cool too. So there's a lot of great stuff. I always remember him always talking about how much heat he took when Jason Todd died. Is how he would always say he'd get accosted of like, this is the guy who killed Robin, and he'd always go, no actual child died. It was a fictional character in a comic book. No children were killed in the telling of this story.
And people probably thought it was Dick Grayson. They probably didn't even realize it was somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's true. But no, I mean, God, like what a legend, what a career. Totally amazing. I think he was 81.
It was early 80s.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. God bless you, Denny O'Neil.
Kevin Smith has re-released his it's one long podcast last week on what is now Fat Man Beyond. He's re-released the episode of Fat Man on Batman he did with Denny, and he's edited it together as just one 3-hour long interview.
Nice.
And I'm probably halfway through it. I started listening to it again last Friday, but if you want to check that out, it's currently because a lot of the old Fat Man stuff is behind a paywall now, but this was just free on Fat Man Beyond. So if you want to check that out, I highly recommend it because it's a really good interview.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's great. I remember listening to it when it was Fat Man on Batman. I remember listening to it way back then.
I think it was spread over like 3 episodes originally, but yeah, it's all strung together as one.
Yeah, so that's cool. But anyway, yeah, R.I.P. Denny O'Neil, and just wherever you are, a huge thank you to all of the amazing work you did, not only for Batman, but for, the DC Universe and for us as fans. Like, just a legend, and sad to see him go.
Yeah, very sad.
So we had to say goodbye to Denny, but unfortunately, yesterday we had to say another goodbye. And the timing of this other goodbye is really crazy. Because
on 2 counts.
Yeah, well, that's true. But we just spent, the last episode we spent talking about Batman Forever, and, over the past week, a lot of geek sites or Batman sites or DC sites, we've all been looking back at Batman Forever for its 25th anniversary.
Did it have an anniversary, did it?
Yeah. You know how I knew about it? I looked at your page every damn day. But yeah, just not even a week after the 25th anniversary of Batman Forever, on Monday, June 22nd, Joel Schumacher passed away.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was sick, to be honest.
I didn't either. Yeah, I don't think it was public. So he was,
and I also didn't know he was 80.
Yeah. I was gonna say he was 80.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, because if you think about it, like he was, his first movie. Oh God, was it St. Elmo's Fire in the mid-'80s? Was his first movie as a director, and he was already like a hairdresser and costumer prior to that. So like, his work as a director was like a second career after he already had a first career.
He's one of those people though. He kind of always looked the same. So you never quite got, how old he actually was.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he passed away of cancer. And yeah, like you said, we didn't realize he was sick. Obviously he directed the 2 Batman films, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, but he had an amazing career as a director as well. I mentioned St. Elmo's Fire, The Lost Boys, Falling Down.
I love that movie. Falling Down is so good.
Flatliners, Time to Kill, Phantom of the Opera. What was that?
Phone Booth.
Oh yeah, Phone Booth. Right.
Which is it's a good tight thriller. I think it's only like a 70 or 80 minute movie, but it's really good.
Yeah, I really like that one too. What else?
Which had Katie Holmes in it, I think, from memory. It's a bit of a Batman connection.
The Client. He did The Client. I Set a Time to Kill. 8mm. Flawless. Tigerland. Yeah, I mean, just an incredible resume. Some movies I think are great. Some movies I think are okay. You know, like it's a varied resume. But I mean, what a career! And this really just so surprising and came out of nowhere. And you know, and this is what I said on Twitter is like, however you feel about his Batman films. Like some people love them, some people hate them. A lot of people are in between. It doesn't even matter. But what I've always loved about him is he just seemed like such a sweetheart of a guy. Mm-hmm. Like when they did that great Batman box set in 2005, and they had all the interviews and the look backs and the commentaries, and they finally gave us all these extras about those 4 Batman films. When you watch the interviews and you listen to the commentaries, he's so funny, he's so honest, he's so frank, and you can't not love the guy. Like, he absolutely owns everything about those films, good and bad. And I've always said, like you know, there's someone's work, and you can like their work or you can not like their work, and then there's the person. And he is someone who, like, his work, I think, is a mixed bag as for my preferences. But God, I just always loved him as a person. He was just one of those guys that, like, I wanted to sit down and just listen to for hours on end. And that's what everyone said. It's like, God, he was generous and sweet and funny. And Kevin Smith said, and he loved to gossip, which of course, as a gay man in Hollywood, of course he did. I wish I could have sat with Joel Schumacher and listened to him gossip about Hollywood. I think it would have been hysterical. But he was just so likable as a person. And made some really great films throughout his career. And just what a shame. Like, I mean, he wasn't young, but again, it sort of came out of nowhere, and it really was a bit of a gut punch to see that yesterday because of the things that were happening yesterday. This was not what I expected to see.
And I think we all felt it. I mean, it would have been shit no matter when we heard it, but I honestly think it had more of an impact given the last 7 or 8 days. Like, when, you know, everyone was kind of, I won't say celebrating, but everyone was paying attention and looking back to Batman Forever. And it did disappoint me a little bit today, seeing some of the headlines, which I guess was inevitable. You know, Joel Schumacher, director of 2 Batman movies, dies. Like, just to sort of dilute his career down to those 2 films. Yeah. And like I said, I think I said it on Real Fans. I know I commented on Sean Gerber's tweet about his passing, and I was like, look, love or hate those 2 movies, despite what you think about them, he did what the studio asked him to do. You know, like, it's not, you can't be shitty at the guy for doing the job he was hired to do. Right. Whether you like the outcome or not, you know? I obviously won't go back over everything I said on the previous episode, but all I will say is, like I posted on my personal Facebook profile today when I shared the news of his death, is just like, thank you for the movie of my childhood. And everybody knows that, and who listens to this show, Batman Forever was the movie of my childhood, and that was his movie, and I'll always be grateful for that, and he'll always have a special place in my heart because of it. Mm-hmm.
I will say, I mean, I feel like there are headlines that have just called out Batman, but there have been just as many that have called out his other films, and then I've seen very few that were, I've seen a couple, but very few that were, like, disrespectful about the Batman, you know, because of the reputation of those movies. Only a couple jerks who went there. For the most part, I think, you know, almost everyone's been super respectful and loving to him. The people who worked with him, and then all of us who were just fans of some of his films. Because he had a very eclectic career. If you look at his film resume, it's amazing, like, how different a lot of those movies are. And so you're right, like, yes, he made 2 Batman movies, and I get it. If you're only going to do a headline, Batman is a word that attracts a lot of attention in a headline and produces a lot of traffic. So I get that. But yeah, he was so much more than 2 Batman movies. He was a professional, and again, just by all accounts, a sweetheart of a guy. And again, whenever you heard him talk as him, that's how he always came off. Like, he just came off as a total mensch, if you will, like.
Yeah.
So, and part of our family, much like Denny O'Neil, he has left his, Joel Schumacher has left his stamp on the world of Batman in his own way, and very few of us get to do that, and he did it, and he did it his way, and those are going to be there forever, and his name will always be a part of the Batman canon forever because of that. So.
Yeah, you've just said forever twice.
Yeah,
No
but I didn't
intended.
do it. I didn't do it the way you did it.
I know.
But yeah, so I mean, like, I appreciate that he's part of our Bat family, but of course, I also appreciate how much he gave to just films in general. I said, like, I have a huge soft spot for Saint Elmo's Fire. I think that's a great movie. The Lost Boys is just a bona fide classic. Just one of my favorite horror movies. It was one that me and my sister watched nonstop in our childhood. So, speaking of movies of our childhood, I watched Lost Boys endless times. Just love that movie. And so, yeah, like, those are the two that sort of rise to the top. But he did so much great work over the years, and
Directed a music video for INXS too, back in their height. Like, he was coming off the back of Lost Boys, and he directed the music video for Devil Inside, off of Kick.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just awesome. And then, like, in a time where most people in Hollywood hide in the closet, like, God bless him for being openly gay and just being who he is and owning it. Like, you've got to respect that too when you know it's going to hurt your career, or it can hurt your career. And he was someone who never, there were no bones about it, and he did it his way, and he continued working constantly,
Yeah.
So.
God bless him.
Yep. So, anyway, nothing but love for Joel Schumacher as well. And yeah, I never get sick of hearing the guy talk. So, it's a shame that he has gone silent, but we do have many, many years and an illustrious career to look back on that Joel Schumacher gave us. So, God bless you, Joel, and R.I.P. to him as well. But let's move on to some more positive things. So we did have 2 deaths, which is really sad. But someone who it seems is not dying or even being recast is Kate Kane in Batwoman.
Yeah.
So this caused a little bit of controversy, which I think is interesting, not to put the cart ahead of the horse here, but we knew that Ruby Rose was leaving Batwoman, and they said, oh, we're just recasting the lead, and I think everybody assumed that to mean, oh, they're just going to cast a new actor who will take over as Kate Kane, will now play Kate Kane as Batwoman. And then we found out, like, a week or 2 ago, almost 3 weeks ago now, that they will not be recasting Kate Kane. Kate Kane, the character, will, like, go missing, I guess, and there will be a brand new character who takes on the mantle of Batwoman. So what they said was accurate, is they're recasting the lead of the show. That is true, but it is no longer going to be Kate Kane. The casting notice calls the character Ryan Wilder, but there's been some question as to whether or not that will actually be the name of the character, because it could just be a placeholder name that they use for the casting notice. So we'll see. But I also know that they're open to non-white actors for that, so we'll see who ends up getting cast. But when I heard this, my reaction was kind of like, oh, okay. But some people got really up in arms about it. A lot of people found this to be pretty upsetting for whatever reason. So, Brendan, where do you fall on this?
I'm not upset about it, but I don't know. I mean, if Ruby Rose is done and she's done, I don't see the point of making Kate Kane going missing part of the story, because I mean, Bruce Wayne's already missing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the fact that you say she's gone missing, that means that she can be found, but I can't see her ever returning to the show. Like it sounds like pretty cut and dry that she's done. I mean, look, they can do what they want to do. That's fine. I don't know why they're just not recasting the role of Kate Kane, because I mean, to me the interesting part of that character is it's all about, you know, the issues with her family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this whole first series, her sister was the villain, which that story's still going. You know, Kate Kane in the comics and everything has all the issues with her father, which they're just kind of, you know, they're building towards. Because in the comics, if my memory serves, I haven't really read a lot of Batwoman stuff, but in the comics, doesn't he know who she is?
Yes.
Yeah. See, they haven't gotten to that in the show yet, but they're very, like, they're building to it big time. And I'm just kind of like, you're leaving, like, there's all these threads there that are set up, and I you know, no spoilers or anything, I did find the first season a little bit hit and miss. Like, it started strong, it took a big dip in the middle of the season, in my opinion, and then sort of the back end, it finished really strong. I really, really started to enjoy the show again. And I don't know, to me, they're on, and the momentum was there. And if you could just recast the character and carry on like nothing's changed, do it. I mean, you know, they do it with actors in movies all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see the point in making it a brand new character. I just don't know what you're going to do with that. But, you know, I'm not a TV writer either, but I don't know. I'm less interested in returning to the show for season 2, knowing that the Kate Kane story is effectively over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll probably watch at least the first episode just purely out of curiosity. But, I mean, you know, I know Jess is at the point where she doesn't really want to watch any more superhero shows. Like, we already watch too many TV shows as it is. So, like, you know, the fact that we lost Arrow this season was a good thing. But, you know, you lose Arrow and then you gain Superman and Lois.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean,
There'll never be enough time, Brendan.
Yeah, and the fact too that like the crossover for this season was supposed to be, you know, Batwoman and Superman and stuff. So yeah, yeah, it is what it is. But I would much prefer them just recast Kate Kane and carry on like nothing has changed.
That's interesting because I hadn't really heard your take on it, and yeah, you seem a little, you feel a little more strongly about it than I do. I think you make, you know, some very valid points. I didn't really think about it, but you're right. Like, so much of the story is about her relationship with Alice and her relationship with her father. Mm-hmm. Not to mention being Bruce's cousin. So most of these main characters have such a strong, and then her stepsister, of course. Mm-hmm. So many of these main characters have such a strong relationship with Kate that, yeah, like it sort of hinges on that. And so I do agree that I think the cleanest way to do it is, yeah, you just cast a new actor, she's Kate Kane, and you just pick up where you left off, and that's that. But here's the thing. I think a lot of people are making some strong assumptions in that Ruby Rose wants nothing to do with it anymore. And maybe that's true. But if that were true, if it were that clear cut, they probably would just recast Kate Kane. So I also see what they're going for, which is they're leaving the door open. Because if Ruby Rose wants to come back do a guest spot now and then, or do a crossover now and then, because she had no problem doing the crossover, that's how they got her into this in the first place, I think they just want to leave the door open for that. And so I think that is probably the biggest reason, is they're like, well, if we got, now all of a sudden someone else is Kate Kane, well, then Ruby, you know, our relationship with Ruby is over. And who knows, you know, again, we don't know how contentious it is with her leaving. Maybe it is. Maybe it's contentious. Maybe they never want to talk again. And yeah, this is all an extra lot of work for nothing. But if it is one of those where she's like, you know what, I love doing it. Thanks, guys, but I can't do this week in, week out. but I'd be happy to come back next year for 2 weeks or so, who knows. This way they can have it both ways. But it puts a bigger burden on the writers to, now weave this new character in a way that makes sense and to make those relationships work all over again.
And also to make the audience give a shit. Like we've just spent an entire season getting to know this new character, and personally, I quite like the Kate Kane character. But it kind of feels like you're starting from scratch again. I just hope that for the sake of a potential return that may or may not ever happen, they're not sacrificing the quality of the show they were making, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Again, I can see it both ways. Or instead of like killing Kate Kane or just having someone else take Kate Kane, they want Kate Kane out there for whatever reason. They still want her out there, and so this way she can still be out there, and now there's a new Batwoman. What's interesting, though, is it does add a whole new element to the Batwoman story in that they're introducing a brand new Batwoman that doesn't have a foot in the comics. And so they're going to be creating a new one, which is going to be interesting,
Yeah. And see, it asked the question too, like, if that's, I mean, do they then continue on the Alice storyline? Because why would Alice give a shit? Like if it's just somebody else in the random costume, like why? She's got no, money in that game. Like her sister, you would think that they could potentially just write her out that Kate's vanished while Alice has gone to find her or something. Like I just don't see how you could carry on the Alice storyline if it's not Kate Kane, because what's the point?
Right. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure they had all these meetings, and I'm sure they explored all the options, and they feel confident, and they'll be able to introduce a new Batwoman, and it will work. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but I'll be watching to see. I'll be very curious to see how they manage to pull this off, or if they manage to pull this off.
Yeah. Look, good luck to them, but
yeah. So anyway, again, like I mostly just shrugged at it, and I was like, okay, well, we'll see how that goes, and just sort of left it there. But then I just saw some folks who were like, oh, this is so stupid, and I was like, oh, I mean, we'll see. But anyway, We'll see how that goes. But there's plenty of other things to keep us entertained in the meantime, and of course, we're all looking forward to Zack Snyder's Justice League next year.
That we are.
Next year. And so we got our first little tease last week, and Zack Snyder shared it, and I know Jason Momoa shared it, and so it was out there. Just a quick little teaser but the official first teaser for Zack Snyder's Justice League, and that was a little bit of footage. It's like, 10 seconds, 13 seconds, something like that?
About that,
yeah. And it is Diana in some sort of, I mean, not really a cave, but some sort of ruin, if you will, like in sort of like kind of like an Indiana Jones ruins with a torch, and she sees the drawing of Darkseid while we hear the voiceover of Lex Luthor from Batman vs. Superman talking about, oh, the bell's already rung, he's coming, he's heard us, and it's this big tease on Darkseid. Diana looks pretty fearful of Darkseid.
Look pretty. Yeah.
And she also looks pretty.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to a shot of the big flashback scene, or it was the big flashback battle scene from the theatrical cut of Justice League, with Darkseid just sort of standing front and center. And we had seen that image before, but we'd only seen it in black and white.
I was going to say the two pieces of footage that make up this teaser, I feel like I've seen still shots of both of those scenes, because seeing Diana in that whatever it is with the torch, I've definitely seen that before.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, if it was...
I think you're right, though. I think you're right now that you say it, because I definitely remembered the Darkseid image, because
it's
Darkseid. So of course I remember that. But yeah, now that you mention it, I do have a vague recollection of a black and white photo of Diana with a torch.
I mean, honestly, it could have even been in an early Empire. I'm just guessing here, like, back before certain scenes were cut. But I've definitely seen the image of her in the white dress with the torch.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know what she was looking at, but I've seen her in that costume and carrying the torch before.
Yeah. So a nice little surprise, a nice little tease. Not a ton to it, but I do think the money shot of Darkseid on that huge battlefield is pretty damn cool. And so just a little nugget that Zack threw our way to keep us satiated or something to chew on while we wait for more. So any additional feelings, thoughts, insights?
Not really. I mean, it was cool. I enjoyed it. It was very, short but sweet. For that 15 seconds, whatever it is when you're watching it, sort of the blood starts pumping a little bit. And I mean, I don't know where you're going with the next news story, but if he's sharing
Just
a 15-second teaser here, potentially on August 22nd, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a hell of a lot more.
Yes. And I will get to that, but I'm not ready to yet.
Yes. That's why I wasn't sure.
I know. I mean, we could go there and then make our way back, but there's something I wanted to talk about real quick along these lines. I mean, I agree with you. It's a cool little tease. That's all it is. It's a tease. But it was neat, and it's something to sort of whet our appetite while we wait for the next thing. But exciting nonetheless. Can't wait. Can't freaking wait for that movie or miniseries or whatever it ends up being. Can't wait. But if you remember when we talked about that, I sort of posited the question. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, because it really does feel like we're getting, I mean, and we all assume, like almost an entirely different movie than the one we currently have sitting on our shelves. And I was like, how did they get away with saying directed by Zack Snyder? How did they get away with that?
Yes.
When that's not the case, obviously, right? And because I brought up the example of Superman 2. I was like, there was a reason that Richard Lester had to go back and reshoot scenes that were already shot because he needed to shoot enough of the footage to have it directed by Richard Lester on there. And so I put that out there. I was like, I just don't understand what loophole they found in order to get away with that. And it was also the time where Zack Snyder had said, oh, only about 25% of, or by all accounts, because he didn't even actually see it. He said, oh, by all accounts, about 25% of what you saw was mine. And I got a lot of people who messaged me privately being like, oh, I think the reason they got away with it is that he shot 4 hours, and 25% of 4 hours is 1 hour, and the movie is 2 hours. And so if that 1 hour is 51%, then that's how they got away with it. Right. And I was like, okay, I get what you're saying. I get the rationale, but take a step back. Forget about the 4 hours. Forget about trying to break down the numbers. Just look at the theatrical cut of Justice League. Just look at that. Look at only that movie. Do you really think that 51% of that movie was Zack Snyder footage? I don't think so. I don't think so. But again, I thought maybe they cut it just so close that they were able to get it to 51% so they could do that. But when you watch the movie and then now everything that we have seen post that movie and everything we have learned since then, I don't think half of that movie was Zack Snyder footage. So
yeah, you kind of dissected a lot.
Yeah. So I also got another. So I appreciated everybody who messaged me that, and I was like, I get what you're saying. I'm still not sure that adds up. And so then I got another message from listener Trevon Brady, and so I had to give him special credit because I think Trevon cracked it. God bless him, he looked up the rules with the Directors Guild of America, the DGA. So here is where I think the loophole lies, is that essentially to get the director credit on the film, you have to have shot a certain percentage of the principal photography.
And then because it was reshoots.
Yes. So you have to have shot whatever that number is, and it's probably in here, 90%.
Right.
90%. If you, as a director, directed 90% of principal photography, you get the director credit.
Mm-hmm.
But Zack Snyder did direct 100% of principal photography. And then, I guess, additional photography doesn't count towards that. And so Joss Whedon, in whatever it was, God, like 2 months, 3 months, shot like a whole new movie in reshoots.
Yeah.
And stuck it in there. And because it was reshoots, it was additional photography, it didn't count towards that percentage, which is why Zack Snyder got sole directorial credit.
That's crazy.
Isn't that insane? So, Trevon, my hat is off to you. You were the first message that I went, I think you got it. This makes more sense. But that is a hell of a loophole.
I don't know what business side, like, I don't know why it wasn't listed as, directed by Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon. Like,
They were so obviously trying to downplay the changes, the reshoots. They were sticking to their story, which was, Zack only left because of his family, which we all know is not the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he cracked it. But that also explains like Rogue One. Like Rogue One, we know that a third of that movie was reshot without the director, and Gareth Edwards gets the sole directorial credit, and it's because it was all during reshoots.
Yeah.
So anyway,
weird.
Trevon, I think you got it. Thank you for clearing that up, because I just was like, how do you get away with this? It doesn't add up. Anyway, just wanted to put that out there to sort of close that loop, so to see kind of where we landed. But as you said, we got a quick little tease of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is exciting. But we think we might be getting more very soon, because something else that was announced was the DC FanDome. And DC FanDome is an online event, a virtual convention, if you will, all about DC, celebrating all things DC, especially TV and movies, but everything DC. So we know there's no Comic-Con this year, and so they're having like a virtual Comic-Con, but DC took it one step further this year, which is, and honestly, kudos to them. They've never really done anything like this before, because it was always just folded into the Warner Brothers presentation. DC is kind of stepping out and doing their own virtual convention that is all DC all the time. So this is happening on August 22nd. It is a 24-hour online event, and let me see if I can share some highlights with you. A mega 24-hour immersive virtual fan experience which brings the universe of DC to life and features stars, filmmakers, and creators behind its biggest films, TV series, games, and comics. I do like that it says right here, save the date and prep your cosplay. So yeah, if you're gonna be watching this at home in your cosplay, please prep your cosplay. But yeah, they showed like a layout. It's like separated into 5 different areas, which is the
Looks
DC.
like a theme park.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, a theme park or a convention floor.
Yeah.
So there's the DC Watchverse. There's the DC U-verse, the Kids-verse, the Insider-verse, and the Fun-verse.
And then like they all come off the Hall of Heroes.
Yeah, they all come off the Hall of Heroes. So, but here are some of the things that we expect to hear more about during this event. Feature films and TV, including Aquaman, the Batman, Batwoman, Black Adam, Black Lightning, DC Superhero Girls, Legends of Tomorrow, Stargirl, Doom Patrol, The Flash, Harley Quinn, the Snyder Cut of Justice League. Wow, they even called it the Snyder Cut in the press release. Yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm. Lucifer, Pennyworth, Shazam, The Suicide Squad, Supergirl, Superman and Lois, Teen Titans Go, Titans, Watchmen, Young Justice Outsiders, and Wonder Woman 1984. So pretty much
all sounds
everything.
so good.
Like everything. Every movie or TV that is DC that is currently in some form of production is going to be represented as part of this event. And yeah, that is really exciting. So what day is April or August? God, what day is August 22nd? Let me see. It's a Saturday.
It'll be most likely be the majority of it'll be the Sunday for us.
Yeah, so for us it'll be Saturday night and into Sunday. Everyone else it's Saturday. So yeah, August 22nd, really exciting. And yeah, to your point, I think we probably will get a trailer for the Snyder Cut or Zack Snyder's Justice League, however you want to call it. There's also a strong speculation that we'll get our first trailer for the Suicide Squad.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Do you think we'll get our first footage of the Batman?
I hope so.
I don't.
You don't think so?
No, I was just... I hope so. Of course you hope so. We all hope so. Of course. I'm saying, are we?
Before we go any further, I will say the first thing I noticed, and it's in the logo, is it's DC FanDome, a global experience.
Except Australia. It's in fine print.
I just hope global, when I had this conversation with Jamie, I hope global actually means global. I'm taking it at face value, but all I'm saying is I've been burnt before.
Right.
So I do have a VPN, but I'm just hoping that it's not geo-blocked in any way, shape or form, because I really want to take part in this. Like I really,
yeah.
And, same as you. Like you're not in America at the moment. Like I hope the globe actually means the globe and not like the winner of your National Basketball League is called the World Champions, but it's America only. So yeah, I just hope that it actually means the world, so we can all enjoy it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I hope so too, because, yeah, I am planning on blocking out this day and just seeing as much as I can see. But, like, I assume they're going to do, like, like how, Josh Gad has been doing those Zoom calls with different casts of different movies and stuff. Like, I imagine they're going to do, like, virtual panels with Zoom calls of, the cast and crew and filmmakers of these shows and these movies. And I mean, it's got to be, and then we've got to be getting premieres of footage and trailers and things. We'll probably get another trailer for Wonder Woman 1984, because right now we've still only had one, right?
Well, yeah, and it's funny, I was going to...
And we saw that trailer 3 years ago, Brendan.
Yeah, I know, right? I was actually going to bring this up in our group chat one day last week. I was thinking about it, and for some reason I didn't. I got sidetracked or something, but it was actually, to be honest, it was right before they announced the date change, which... I don't know if that's something you want to touch on, how Wonder Woman's now moved to October. This is when it was still going to be in August.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, like, we've got to be getting a second trailer. Like, even because, I mean, the movie should have been out by now. It should have been out for, 2 or 3 weeks based on the original release date. We should have a second trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Based on August, but I mean, even based on October, we should have a second trailer by now.
Well, I think honestly they've been holding it because they were like, yeah, sure, it's slated for August, but we'll see. I think that's all it is. Is like, I think they were waiting to be confident in a new release date, and I think in this case the event will take precedence and we'll get that second trailer.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, I think up until now that's probably why, is because August was always just a fingers crossed. Hopefully August things will be ready. But yeah, so I mean, I think that's probably why. But if we're looking at this lineup, what are we thinking? So Aquaman, I don't know how much, like, that's so, we have so much time to go before Aquaman 2, so I don't really know what we'll get for that. But if it's just like a little reunion or something.
My question is the animated show for HBO Max.
Yeah.
Because is it from memory, it's set in the one universe, isn't it? when they announced it.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I think it's supposed to take place like right after the movie, if I remember correctly.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, there's been no talk of voice cast or anything. Like, it could be like, hey, Momoa's going to voice Aquaman for this HBO Max animated show. I don't know, like, or they could give us a filming date, or I mean, even a title. These things are, it's going to be interesting. But it's just like they announced this animated show, HBO Max is now launched, and there's been no talk of the animated show since it was announced. Almost a year ago.
Yeah.
So that's where my mind went. But, who knows?
Yeah, you're right. Could be. The Batman, like I said, hopefully we get our first footage, even if it's just even if we don't get our first footage, we'll get something, whether it be a Catwoman reveal or a Riddler reveal, or, we'll get something for the Batman.
All of the above.
Yeah, they've got footage. They will already have another month of footage. Actually, almost. What was that?
They've got enough footage to create a teaser.
Well, yeah, and then I was about to say they'll have another 6 to 7 weeks more footage by the time this event takes place, because they're supposed to start shooting again the first week of July.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably get something there. Batwoman, maybe we'll find out who our new Batwoman is.
I was going to say, a casting announcement you think would be the priority there.
Yeah, I had seen murmurs about casting for Black Adam, so that certainly seems possible. As far as like casting for like Hawkman, Hawkwoman, Dr. Fate, some of those.
Yep.
Black Lightning, probably just a panel, DC Superhero Girls, Legends of Tomorrow. Yeah, all these TV shows, probably just panels and whatnot. It just says The Flash. I'm assuming that is The Flash, the show. But, but
today,
who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, it's sort of buried with all the other shows, so that's why I think that is like when they're calling it out here, that's what they mean, but who knows? Because they also mentioned Harley Quinn, Justice League. Again, I think we will get a Justice League trailer, which is awesome.
I'd love an announcement for a season 3 of Harley Quinn.
Yeah, that's true.
Holy shit, that show's good.
Pennyworth, Shazam, the Suicide Squad, again, I think a Suicide Squad trailer. Essentially, since they're done shooting, there's no reason that shouldn't happen. Superman and Lois, first trailer for that, probably. Trailer for season 3 of Titans, maybe?
Hopefully. And I'm pretty sure that at least the pilot for Superman and Lois is done, from what I remember hearing.
Yeah. So, I mean, lots of possibility here for some really awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a weekend.
Yep. To your point, I just hope I have access to it. I didn't even think about that.
You and I are going to have to sort out our sleeping schedules for that weekend.
Yeah, right. But anyway, I love seeing them do this. I love them, like coming out in a big way. I really do feel like it's AT&T. I feel like AT&T, when they purchased Warner Brothers and they sort of took stock of everything that came with that purchase, I've got to believe that they were like, God, DC is the strongest franchise you have. Like, this is what we need to really focus on, and this is what we need to capitalize off of. And so I see them really investing in DC, which I got no complaints about.
No. AT&T, it's like a telco company, isn't it? Like a communications company. Yeah.
It's essentially like Comcast owns Universal now. AT&T now owns Warner Brothers. So, anyway, it's exciting. It's very cool. And we'll get news here. We'll probably get casting. We'll probably get footage and trailers and all kinds of cool stuff, which is great. So you would have thought that a certain casting or news would have come out during FanDome, but FanDome is still 2 months away. And the problem is sometimes news gets out early, and I don't think they were going to sit on this news or be able to sit on this news or keep it quiet for another 2 months. And so we got a big piece of news within minutes of the news of the passing of Joel Schumacher. So as we said, it was a really weird day or night, depending on which part of the world you're in. For me, it was a really weird night. For most of our friends in the States, it was a really weird day because it was very sad news about losing Joel Schumacher. And then within minutes, very exciting news about the return of a Batman to the big screen.
It was a
And
very interesting morning for me because I woke up to 122 messages in our Real Fans group chat, which is a record and made me shit myself.
you're like,
'cause
what did I miss?
I had no idea what was going on.
And so what's so funny is, you were 2 hours ahead of me here in China, and I caught wind of this a few hours before it came out. And I messaged you immediately. I didn't tell you. If someone tells me something in confidence, I keep it in confidence. But I did say, Brendan, are you awake? Because we might have to podcast soon, or something. I was like, there might be news coming. But you were asleep.
It was probably around 1 o'clock in the morning my time.
Yeah, because exactly. It was 11 p.m. here, so it was 1 o'clock in the morning. But I don't know. Sometimes you stay up late. So I messaged you, and I was like, Brendan, I think we might have some news that we're going to need to discuss very soon. And you were blissfully unaware, with sugar plums dancing in your head. And then, because, again, like I sort of knew this was coming, I couldn't sleep. My night was shot. I tried to go to sleep, and I was like, well, I'll wake up and see if this news hit when I wake up. No, there was no sleeping for me. And so anyway, the news is, you've already seen it, you already know about it. It's probably the name of this episode, is Michael Keaton is in talks to return as Bruce Wayne / Batman in Flashpoint and more. So I don't know if you've seen, Brendan, but over the past week or so, there were a lot of rumors about the Flash movie, specifically about it being a Flashpoint movie. And there was a lot of talk about that over the past week. And as I do with any scoop that isn't reported by the trades, I go, yeah, okay, we'll see, Well,
I mean, look, with that movie in general, anything that's said, even if it's in the trades, take with a grain of salt, because how many times, I mean, this movie should have been released, 3 times by now, and has had how many directors, and everything else that could have possibly happened has happened with this movie. So yeah, honestly, even the news of today, I'm kind of like Jamie with his Young Justice season 3. I'm like,
when
show
you
me
see
a trailer.
Yeah. I understand that, but this I think is legit. I trust where it came from, and the fact that everyone ran with it, even the big guys. I think that this thing is going to happen. So the news is, it was originally reported by The Wrap, and in The Wrap they said, talks are very early, this could fall through, but we have heard that Michael Keaton is in conversations to possibly come back as Batman in Flashpoint. That was their thing. But there were a lot of qualifiers. They were like, oh, it's still early, who knows if this is going to happen. But once they dropped that story, the other players started adding more detail. And that included The Hollywood Reporter, that included Deadline. They started giving us more details. And that details included is, it wouldn't be just for Flashpoint. It would also be for other DC movies as well. And they would want Michael Keaton's Batman to play an older mentor character to the current crop of heroes in the DC universe. And they mentioned including a Batgirl movie, which I guess is still not dead. For me, that's one of those, believe it when I see it things, because how long have we been talking about that?
Anna Kendrick. That's all I'm going to say. Just sign her up.
But they mentioned, so yes, Michael Keaton is in talks to come back for Flashpoint as Batman. They also said that when we meet him, they will ignore the 2 Schumacher films, which, ironic again that news came out at that time. But it basically said is they'll ignore the Schumacher films, basically treat those as another Batman, and we'll be checking in with Keaton's Batman 30 years after the events of Batman Returns and seeing what he's been up to. And so the talk is that, yes, they will be in the Burton's Gotham, for this portion. Right. And then the additional context is that after this movie is over, Michael Keaton will be the Batman for the DCEU. So he will essentially be now the Batman for the connected portion of the universe, replacing Ben Affleck. And so I'm telling you, I think that's everything. Multiple films, start with Flashpoint, and then he will then be the older statesman Batman for the in-continuity films. I think that's it. I think those are the biggies. So, Brendan, what do you think?
I never thought I would have seen the day.
I know, right? It's crazy. It's crazy, but I am elated. I am excited. But yes, it is one of those things where I literally was like, "Oh yeah, that would never happen." It's been 30 freaking years. It's been so long. I mean, he still looks good for his age, but he's no spring chicken. So yeah, I never thought I would see this happen, but from what we're getting, I could see them making it work.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, the multiverse thing is very DC.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to separate themselves again from the guys across the street. It's taking a different approach to a connected universe. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole replacing Affleck thing that sort of does my head in a little bit. But again, being Flashpoint, that can explain changes, I suppose. I can't remember where I was having this. There's been many discussions had today. I can't remember where I was saying this, but I actually think it was in our Real Fans chat now that I think about it. But I was always for wanting the Flash movie to be a Rogues movie.
Yeah.
I think that'd be entertaining as hell, and that's what I was all for that, and I'm pretty sure that was the original plan. Like going back 4 or 5 years ago now, however long it's been. And sort of build to Flashpoint. But I don't have a problem with them pulling the trigger on Flashpoint to start with, because let's be honest, the DC universe, extended universe on the big screen at the moment is kind of a mess. And if this is a way to fix that, and I don't really want to use the word streamline, but if it's a way to essentially reset the continuity that started with Man of Steel, but also keep the actors and characters that they can from that universe that have been successful, like your Wonder Womans and Aquamans and Shazams, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Henry Cavill, keeping his role as Superman. If this is the way to do it, then do it. Don't delay, don't hesitate, don't wait for a sequel, because in this day and age, God only knows if you're going to get one, particularly in the DC world. I'm happy for them to go for it. And the Keaton thing, I mean, I still haven't processed it properly, to tell you the truth. Like, I love the guy. He's Michael freaking Keaton, and he's the original big screen Batman. I mean, obviously I know Adam West, had his movie, and there's the serials, but in terms of your big budget Batman movies, he's ground zero. And if they can find a way to bring him in, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. And one thing they did go out of their way to say essentially is that the Robert Pattinson Batman movie will have nothing to do with this. It'll be its own thing and everything. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but they're introducing the multiverse. So
yeah,
you can say that for now, but if they're introducing the multiverse, whether they address it or not in one of those movies, he's still kind of part of the world.
There's always an option. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do think that using this to introduce the idea of the multiverse, I think is smart, because as we're seeing with the slate is kind of all over the place, and I don't necessarily think that's a problem, but I think it can be a little confusing because you're like, oh, Batman's not in continuity. That Joker movie wasn't in continuity. These are in continuity. Shazam is like in a really loose continuity. But like, so it is a little tricky to see where they all fit. And by just introducing the concept of the multiverse, it's just a very simple way of saying, yeah, they all count, but there's just separate universes. And I think that the success of introducing that on TV with The Flash, and then especially with the crossover. Yeah, like showing that with the crossover and everyone just got it. They're like, well, people get it. People are smart enough to get it. Like, then let's do it in the movies. And who knows how much of this movie will be going to many multiverses. I don't think they're going to do Crisis Part 2, but I think that, you know, you're definitely going to see elements of that, and the Flash is the right character to do that with.
Yeah. You know what I mean, look, I'm definitely not expecting this to happen, but if you're going multiverse and bringing, you know, acknowledging your Michael Keaton Batman, I mean, Brandon Routh is still out there.
Right.
And he's technically the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah.
Based on the continuity of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, it opens the door.
It does. You're right. I mean, it opens the door to whatever they want to do, depending on what they choose that to be. There are a couple things you said I wanted to mention. I'm not so. I know a lot of people do think that, like, oh, this is about cleaning up the continuity. I don't think it's about cleaning up the continuity. I think it's sort of the opposite of just saying, you know what, it's a multiverse. It all counts, and now we can do whatever we want. I think it's more of that, because I don't think they're trying to reboot.
Well, that's why I didn't want to use the word streamline.
Yeah.
And
I don't think they want to, like, reboot the universe, because you've already got a really strong Wonder Woman franchise. You've already got a really strong Aquaman franchise. This is now going to be the Flash. All reports still say it is Ezra Miller's Flash. There are also reports that say Ray Fisher's Cyborg will play a part in this film. We don't know if that's true. It's just rumor, but it's out there. And so right there,
it would make sense based on his appearance on Crisis as well, because he literally says,
yeah, there's a reason he gave Victor a shout out in that moment. And so 4 of your 6 Justice League members are still in continuity and still ongoing. So, and then Cavill is still at sort of a 50-50, where may or may not be. Honestly, at this point, I'd even say 60-40 that he will come back. So really, the only thing you're going to do is swap out your Batman. Yeah. And I think that they were like, I mean, yes, of course they want the press and the nostalgic people like us who were like, I get to see Michael Keaton as Batman again. Here's my money. But I also think it's a smart strategic play in that he can still be Batman, but he is an elder Bruce Wayne. So it's very clear that it's not Robert Pattinson's Batman. Robert Pattinson's Batman's a young Batman, and for in continuity, you have an old Batman, and not a kind of old Batman the way Ben Affleck was kind of old. You have an elder Batman, and so it just it draws a very clear line between these two Batmen, and I think that allows them to have both.
And of course, everyone's jumping to the Batman Beyond conclusion as well. Yeah. Which obviously I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever, like lukewarm on, because I'm just not a huge fan of that world. But don't get me wrong, I'll be there opening day to see it if it happens. But I don't really care if that ever happens or not. But yeah, I mean, I've heard some reports say he would kind of be like the Samuel L. Jackson of the DC universe and everything. So it's very interesting. Very, very interesting times ahead. Like, who would have... I mean, 48 hours ago, man, when we were recording a Batman Forever commentary, who would have thought that we'd be sitting here 48 hours later talking about Michael Keaton returning to the DC universe as Bruce Wayne?
Mm-hmm. I know. It's
insane is what it is.
It is, but it's wonderful. There was something else that you said that I wanted to talk about. Damn it. Oh well, I'm sure I'll get back around to it.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, it'll come to me because there's quite a few elements here that I want to talk about. another piece is like there were rumors, and again, I said there were Flashpoint rumors happening over the past week. One of those rumors, and it's definitely a rumor I squinted my eyes at because it's a rumor that was really easy to just make up because you were bored or you needed traction. And that rumor was, oh, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in talks to return as Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
Because, any day of the week, someone could say that because, yeah, he was already playing Thomas Wayne. And so it would be really easy to go, oh, yeah, he's coming back. And everybody goes, well, it's certainly plausible because he already played it. But now we're getting very conflicting reports. Some people are saying that this Flash movie or Flashpoint movie will have Keaton's Batman and Thomas Wayne Batman. But now we're starting to get reports is that, oh, now because it will be Keaton's Batman, we will not get Thomas Wayne's Batman.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see.
Someone reporting that Michael Keaton is going to be Thomas Wayne, like the Thomas Wayne version of Batman?
I think that was a little miscommunication at first when the news broke. A lot of people went, "Oh, maybe he's playing Thomas Wayne."
Okay.
But that was quickly clarified that no, he is the same Batman that we knew in Batman and Batman Returns. He is that. So it will be interesting. Oh, that was what I was going to say. It did come back to me. Is you said something, and I know that other fans feel this way. Is like, for the first Flash movie, I don't want Flashpoint. I want Flash versus the Rogues, and I get that, and I understand it, and frankly, I agree with it. If it were up to me, that's what I would do too. But if we're not going to get that, I'll happily take this.
Oh yeah.
So the people who feel that way, I completely get it, and I do understand, and I don't disagree. But I also am not as concerned because I've also seen people go, well, shouldn't it be just about the Flash? I mean, there's no reason it isn't going to be. There's no reason it shouldn't be. Just because these other elements are going to be there doesn't mean it's not going to be Barry's story. So I'm less concerned about that. I trust enough in Andy Muschietti that it's going to be a Barry Allen Flash story, but as we heard not that long ago, there will be time travel, and now because there will be time travel, they are using that as a way to bring in a new Batman who is an old Batman.
And a Flash movie would obviously get bums on seats, but a Flash movie with Michael Keaton coming back as Batman is definitely going to get bums on seats.
I mean, just look at the attention this has gotten in the past 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's been crazy. It's been everywhere because, it's one of those things that nobody ever thought would happen, but we are living in this strange, bizarre golden age of comic book movies where you can get away with this and the general public just goes, okay, I can roll with that. That's amazing. Like, what a world we live in that you can do this, and that Michael Keaton, God bless him, I love you, Michael Keaton, that he's like, yeah, what the hell, I'll do it. That's great.
And let's not forget, he's appearing as the Vulture in that bloody...
Mobius?
What's that Marvel... Yeah, Morbius movie.
Morbius.
Yeah.
But
he's really started to embrace the comic book.
I love that. It's funny because... I feel like back in the day, he took a little bit of heat for not being super enthusiastic about playing Batman.
Yeah.
And I feel like some fans always gave him sort of a hard time about that. And I just love that, well, that ain't a problem anymore, y'all. He has owned it, he has embraced it, and he has loved it. I think it just came with old age. I think at the time, it's not that he didn't like doing it, because he obviously liked doing it. He loved doing it with Tim Burton. I just think that he had that concern, that Christopher Reeve concern of, oh God, people are only going to ever see me as Batman. Which was a very real thing 30 years ago. Yeah. Nowadays, that's completely different. It doesn't work that way anymore. But 30 years ago, I think that was holding him back. But I just love how much he's embraced it and that he has signed on. So, okay, so this is the other thing. The Wrap article, again, they were very tentative. They left themselves a lot of outs. They were like, oh, it's early talks, it could fall through. Well, my understanding is that they are there's a few day delay in what they reported. And so my understanding is it's a done deal. Michael Keaton has signed, it's happening. So, and I heard it is up to 3 films. So That's pretty awesome. So yeah, like and that's why I do believe it's going to happen. Again, everyone reported it. This is not just some random site or random Twitter account you've only heard of in passing. This was reported by every big one out there. I think it is going to happen, and I couldn't be more excited. Here's my one little caveat though, is I am a little afraid he's not going to suit up.
I'd be surprised.
I would hope so. I mean, if you're going to promise people Michael Keaton is returning as Batman, I think you will piss people off if he never puts on the Batsuit. And I got to say, John Wesley Shipp put on that Flash suit after 30 years and looked amazing. So I'm not worried about it. I'm sure they will be able to get him in a suit and he'll still be able to look good. And he's in good shape, again, for his age and everything. Yeah, his face is going to have some wrinkles in it, but it happens to the best of us. But yeah, like I just feel like you run the risk of disappointing a lot of people if you're going to promise us he's returning as Batman and then he spends the whole time in the Batcave in a suit as Bruce Wayne.
Did the original article actually say Batman, or did it say returning as Bruce Wayne?
Batman.
Okay. So I couldn't remember if it was clever wording or not.
And each one, and it's funny because I did see some people because some of the reports said Bruce Wayne and some said Batman. And so I did see some people go, oh God, is he, it just says Bruce Wayne. Does that mean he's not actually going to put on the suit? And then I saw other people go, oh, it says Batman. He's suiting up.
Well, I hope so.
It would be very disappointing if he didn't.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
It's funny though. It's not until you've brought that up right now that I actually considered him putting on the suit. Because I think my expectation was he'll be Bruce Wayne and we'll see him in a Batcave or something. But I didn't expect to see him in the costume.
Oh, really?
But now that you say it, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, of course I want to see him in one. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't.
Oh, okay. So we're on opposite ends here. Like,
yeah, but I mean, look, don't get me wrong though. I'd love to see it, Jesus, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't.
So the Wrap says Bruce Wayne. Hollywood Reporter says Batman. Right.
Because, I read the original Wrap article. I haven't read all the other versions in all the other trades. Because in the Wrap article, I do remember it just being Bruce Wayne. And I think maybe that's why my expectation was Bruce Wayne.
I think that would be disappointing. But here's the other piece is like, are they going to recreate the look of Burton Gotham? Are we going to revisit that world? Are they going to, is the Burton Batmobile going to be in there? Like, are we going to get to see that Batmobile rip through the streets of Gotham with today's technology? It raises other questions. It raises too many questions. I'll show you too many questions.
We know Alexander Knox is out there.
He's happy to do it. It makes me very sad that Michael Goff has passed on.
That's true. Yeah.
Because now I have seen people start to, it starts to unravel where people are like, well, that means Michelle Pfeiffer could come back. And it's like, it does mean, it could, but, for now we're just talking about Michael Keaton because to the original point, it's still a Flash movie. It's not a Batman 3.
No.
So it will be interesting to see how much of his world we get to see. We'll see. But, oh my God, if you wanted to get some attention and to get some excitement for your Flash movie, I think you've done it.
Yeah. In my mind, I was picturing, him in the Batcave with the Batmobile in the background or, Easter eggs for things. I don't know if we'll see it, rip it through the streets, but could you imagine a scene of that Batmobile cruising down the street and, Barry Allen running beside it?
Oh, stop.
You love it when I talk dirty, don't you?
Oh, man. Whew. Well, and because what they could do, especially considering the technology that we have today, is, yes, I think most of his role will be in the Batcave, you know, as that mentor figure. But you could essentially create a CG version of Burton's Gotham and do a fly through or a run through if it's Barry, where you have the Easter eggs and you get to revisit it at least for one sequence, and then the rest of it is more what you just described.
And you've got to have the theme.
Oh yeah,
You've got to. Like, I know they kind of revisited it a little bit. It was teased in Justice League, but you got to go full, you know,
Yeah.
balls to the wall.
yeah.
Danny Elfman theme.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, yes, I mean, I understand people who are like, it still needs to be about Barry, and I agree, and I think it will be. So I'm trying not to envision a Batman 3. But I think it is a stroke of genius, since he's willing to do it, to bring him back, make him the in-continuity Batman, let him be the mentor to the rest of the Justice League that Zack Snyder put in place, let Ben ride off into the sunset at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then let Pattinson be his own thing. Like, I feel like it's a way for everyone to essentially be happy. But don't worry, there's still plenty of people out there who are unhappy. But in theory, everyone should have something to be happy about with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's covering all your bases, really.
Yeah. But
it's still insane, dude. Like, I still can't believe we're having this conversation.
I know. Like, and that's, so I was like, oh my God, like, yes, let's record tonight, because it is completely insane, but it is insanely awesome. I'm so excited.
Yeah. It's a Flash movie, but of course the way our brains work is you go, oh, well, if he's back, then this person could be back, and oh my God, that could mean this, and that could mean this, and
Yep, I know. It's easy to go there, but
even talking to you now, like, my mind went to the whole, like, well, they could resurrect the Anton First Batmobile at Movie World. Like, it's just kind of, it sort of just sits parked in Gotham City Cafe and has been there for like 20 years almost now. It's like they could get that out cruising around the park again and have like the Flash walking beside it. And
yeah, so I think it's so exciting. And I also think that, like, I also seen like, oh God, it's going to be a 30-second cameo or something. I don't think we would get word of it this early and this widespread if it was a small thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm honestly surprised they didn't hold the news off till tomorrow.
I was waiting for that.
Tomorrow's the 23rd.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Like, I honestly thought because of Schumacher passing away that it might not drop for another day or two. I thought they might hold it out of respect, but I think that the toothpaste was already out of the tube and they had to go with it.
Yeah. No, I was talking more about the date, like 23rd of June.
Yeah, the anniversary.
Yeah.
So no, it's really awesome. Right now, somewhere out there, Kim Basinger is staring at her phone, waiting for it to ring.
You know what she's doing, don't you?
Is Vicky waiting?
Vicky's waiting.
Vicky's waiting.
God, we're terrible.
I know. I will also point out, though, that she still looks amazing for her age, so there's no reason we couldn't revisit Vicky Vale.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing at a time, the important thing, Michael Keaton, live action as Batman in an upcoming film.
You know, it does make me wonder if Keaton might have been the second choice.
Okay.
If you're going multiverse. I'm wondering if they approached Bale.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not basing that on anything other than
no
just
idea.
like. Do you know what I mean, though? In terms of, I mean, he's obviously younger, and maybe a little bit more physical. You know, well, we know he's physically, you know, potentially a little bit fitter and things like that, and we know how big those movies were for WB.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do wonder if they maybe thought of doing that. And they maybe hit a brick wall and they're like, well, effort. Let's go for Keaton.
Yeah.
I'm honestly just thinking out loud. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. Maybe.
possible.
Yeah. Well,
You never.
yeah. Exciting nonetheless. Like you said, who saw this coming? But so cool.
Certainly
And
not me.
yeah, so cool. I love it. And I'm excited to find out more when the time comes. And yeah, I do wonder, like, during FanDome, is that when they'll make it official? They'll go, yes, you know, right now it's out there, but it's still not official. So will they address it at FanDome?
Oh, they'd have to.
Well, and that's why I said,
you
like,
can't
that
make an
where it
announcement
mentions
like
the Flash,
this
is it
and
talking about the show? Is it talking about the movie, or is it talking about both? I don't know.
I mean, you can't have an announcement like this, then 2 months later have your own convention, albeit digital. It's still a convention, and not talk about Michael Keaton returning. Like, you just can't.
Yeah, I know. So, well, hopefully we will get more at that time. Oh man, FanDome, it's going to be podcasting pay dirt.
Could you imagine if the world was somewhat normal this year and COVID hadn't happened, and they kept a lid on this, and in Hall H, Keaton walked out on stage and they made this announcement?
Oh, jeez.
And you'd be in China.
I know.
But could you imagine the room? Holy Christ.
Yeah. It's exciting news. I can't freaking wait. And yeah, looking forward to getting more details and more info as it comes. But for now, yeah, it's sort of like the impossible has happened, but it's really exciting. It's going to be cool.
Look, I see Michael Keaton every day, man. Like, I've got the Michael Keaton cutout in my living room. He's been in the corner of the living room in the 10 years Jess and I have lived in this place. So I see him literally every day.
Well, there you go. You'll have to get a 30-year later standee.
Just, I only said to Jess, like, I think it might have even only been yesterday. It was Sunday. I said something about that standee, and I was like, if Michael Keaton ever came and did Supernova over here or something, I'd nearly be tempted to cart that standee into the convention and get him to sign that.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, cool stuff. Of course, more as it develops. But I also mentioned at the beginning, we have a lot of emails. We're already an hour and a half, so I don't know if we'll get through them all, but we'll see how we can do. So let's move forward. Let's check in with you fine feathered finks. I was just watching Batman 66.
That's going back, I was going to say.
Yeah, I was watching old Batman 66 during my insomnia last night. So yes, my fine feathered finks, it is time for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
Okay, this one here is from Franklin Gnosis. It says, hello, hope you're doing well in this crazy world. I had a quick suggestion. I recently saw on social media that Alicia Silverstone is wanting to make a comeback as Batgirl in a solo movie. I don't know if it's true, but it made me think. Even though the Batman and Robin movie was not a great hit, I always thought Alicia played a really good Batgirl, despite her being Alfred's niece, which was the only thing I hated about the character. Probably think she could come back to DC Universe and play an older Barbara Gordon if they ever get around to making a live-action Batman Beyond movie. I wanted to hear your thoughts. Anyway, take care, stay safe, Franklin Gnosis. So yeah, this is from, a few weeks ago when I think someone asked her, oh, would you ever be Batgirl again? And I think she said, yeah, I'd love to. What do you think?
24 hours ago, I would have said not a chance in hell. But given the news that's broken, I feel like,
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I don't think it would ever happen. That would be something I would imagine potentially more in like a cameo in, say, a CW show or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like a legacy casting role in a show like that, whether it be a guest spot or something. I don't think we'll ever see her suit up on the big screen again. But like I said, dude, the last 24 hours, all these what if questions now are kind of like, yeah, what if? You can't really dismiss them as easily anymore.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bet on it, but yeah, like that would be a way to do it because of her age. Like, I don't think she could be Batgirl anymore, because I think she's my age. She's like 40. And so, but like, yeah, like if they did some sort of like Batman Beyond thing, or she was Oracle or an older Barbara Gordon, I think you could do it that way. I wouldn't bet on it, but again, you could. Next question is from Douglas June. It says, hey, do you know why the Nolan trilogy is not on HBO Max? Douglas, I bet you it's because those 3 films are tied up in rights for something else. They might have streaming rights on Netflix or Hulu or something. Like, there's got to be some sort of rights, and those rights deals go for years. And so my guess is they don't have the rights to stream them because someone else bought the rights to stream them.
It's crazy. Like the same week that HBO Max launched over there, we had a new streaming service launch here called Binge, which when it was announced, the press release kind of made it sound like it was our version of HBO Max. Mm-hmm. So far, it hasn't lived up to that. Okay. But they do have like a DC, I think they call it like the DC Universe hub, where it's got, a few of the CW shows and all the Chris Reeve, movies and Superman Returns and everything. When it launched, which was only 3 weeks ago now, it didn't have Batman 89, but it had Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. They're not on there anymore, and it was only launched 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the Nolan movies, it only has The Dark Knight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I think I just saw something about...
The 90s movies aren't on there.
Yeah, I think I just saw something that like the quadrilogy, it's on HBO Max now, but I think at the end of the month it goes off because like someone else purchased that rights window. So yeah, it's crazy. So that's my guess.
It's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah. All right, next message is from Horace McNichol. It says, hey, was Dick Tracy and his characters an influence on Batman and his characters? Also, did you know that a few weeks ago was the 30th anniversary of Dick Tracy, and why was it not a big hit like Batman, especially with Al Pacino and Madonna? Horace, thanks for the message. I think I've read, I am not a Dick Tracy expert, and so I want to say I've heard over the years that his cast of, like his Rogues Gallery was an inspiration on Batman's. I don't know how true that is, but I feel like I've heard that. Brendan?
We do know that Bob Kane liked to borrow ideas.
Yeah, so...
But I mean, to be fair, like all the sort of pulp characters and stuff, they're all based off one another. Like it was what it was, is what it is.
Yeah, and I'd have to look up like the timeline. Like when did Dick Tracy and his characters, when did they debut? Because if it was prior to 1939, then I'd feel pretty confident in saying yes, that was an influence. And then why was it not a hit like Batman? Because Dick Tracy isn't Batman. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why. I mean, it's funny because I like the Dick Tracy movie. I don't love it, but I like it.
I really enjoy it. I still think it's one of the best translations of like a comic book come to life, and that's 30 years on. Like it. I still don't think anyone else has been able to do it to the effect that Dick Tracy did. Yeah. Except for maybe Snyder with like 300 or something.
I love the look of it. I like the characters. I like the cast. I just think it's kind of boring.
Oh.
Not much happens in that movie. And I mean, and I've talked about this with friends over the years, it's funny because, yeah, like Disney so wanted it to be Batman. They hired Danny Elfman to do the score. Like you could just tell they were like, this is going to be our Batman. And so even though it did well, because it didn't do Batman well, they were disappointed in it. But I'm sorry.
They had a
like,
Madonna soundtrack instead of a Prince soundtrack.
yeah, exactly. Like they wanted it to be their Batman, and it did fine. It did like $100 million, but Batman did $250 million. And so when it didn't do Batman numbers, it just, they sort of set it aside. And but yeah, I think the answer is that Dick Tracy isn't Batman and the Joker.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of a random character.
Yeah,
from a bygone era.
Yeah. So and I think it was just harder to get kids invested in a detective in a orange or a detective in a yellow coat as opposed to Batman. Wears the bat costume and has a Batmobile and a Batcave, like, and the gadgets, and like it's just not as. I don't think it's as it doesn't grab kids the way Batman and his mythology does.
Still remember that movie being a hell of a big deal, though.
Oh yeah, I mean it was marketed to all get out, and again, it was successful. They wanted it to be Batman. Next message is from Mark Jurosevic. It says, "Hey, the Snyder Cut episode was really enjoyable. I think that Brendan can appreciate the term when I say I'm absolutely stoked about the Snyder Cut. It's like waiting for a brand new movie. I have a couple theories regarding the director credit." Oh, see, this is what I was talking about. So he kind of goes through the thing of like, if the theatrical is 2 hours long and Snyder did 4 hours, 25% of 4 hours is 1 hour. Yeah, we talked about that. He said Joss Whedon also made changes to some of Zack's original work, including changing the coloring of the third act. Does this count as Snyder or Whedon's work? I think that would count as Snyder's because he shot the footage.
It's kind of more a special effect than anything.
Yeah. He says, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just great that for someone seems like a really nice person who suffered a tragedy, that his vision can be realized and his planned trilogy will come to fruition. Finally, I've got a question. Do you think that Henry Cavill's newfound popularity on The Witcher has some factor in the decision to put Justice League on HBO Max? Witcher was one of the most watched series on Netflix. Just a few thoughts. Take cares. Apologies for the long email. Thanks, Mark. So yeah, I think we kind of covered the Snyder Justice League thing. But what do you think? Do you think The Witcher had any bearing on Justice League?
Nope. I think that 100% comes down to the fact that Warner Brothers owns HBO Max. They've got their own streaming platform and they want to get people to go there. Yeah, I agree. I think Justice League is a big enough deal on its own, and the DC characters are a big enough deal on their own. I think that's the driving force for it, and just wanting content for HBO Max. Yeah. Next message is from Sam. It says, if they ever do a we kind of talked about this, a live-action Batman Beyond, do you think that the actor for Terry should be African-American? I think it would be a nice addition to the dynamic of his and Bruce's relationship, and I wouldn't see it as a forced diversification. Just a thought. But what character in the DC universe do you think could be race or gender swapped with little to no backlash? Sam Lund. Thanks, Sam. So first question, do you think Terry McGinnis could be black? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be fine. I'd have no issue with that at all. Doesn't mean some people won't be upset about it because, and to your second question, little to no backlash, I don't think there's anyone you could do that with where there'd be little to no backlash. It would have to be some character that no one's ever heard of. Like Ratcatcher in the Suicide Squad is going to be gender swapped. That's what you end up with to get no backlash is like, who cares, Ratcatcher? But for any like big recognizable character, there's always going to be a little bit of backlash. But for me, I don't, for some I have a bigger issue than others. I don't even know if it's say an issue. Some of it I think is a little more natural than others, I guess is my point. But yeah, Terry McGinnis, it would never bother me. And I've said for years, like, if the next franchise you wanted to make Batman black, I wouldn't care about that either. That'd be fine. Yeah. I mean, someone like a Lex Luthor as well. Like, yeah. I think that would be great. Go back to Kingpin being played by Michael Clarke Duncan. Yeah. Like, to me, he was the physical embodiment, of that character. Like, he just happened to be black. Right. Who cares? Like, he looked the same. Well, and now we have a black Jim Gordon, which is fine. I didn't really see backlash for that, but doesn't mean it wasn't there. But that means that theoretically you would also have a black Barbara Gordon, or at least a half black Barbara Gordon. Yeah, we talked about that when that casting was announced. Yeah, and I think that would be fine too. Will there be some backlash? Probably, but I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
All right, next message is from Evan Baker. It says, "Hey, Holy Bat boys, I feel like people overlooked some of the shots." This is about Robert Pattinson. It says, "Overlooked some of the shots of the Batsuit when we got the Batmobile photos, specifically the shot from behind where you see a shoulder-to-knees shot of the suit. I think it looks great. I would love to know your opinions. Sincerely, Evan Baker." Thanks, Evan. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't re-examine it. But when those photos of the Batmobile with Batman standing beside it came out, I looked at both, and you know, it didn't change my opinion of the suit one way or the other. I don't love it, but it's fine. Is still where I'm at.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it's like everything. Like when it comes to the Pattinson suit, like just show us a clear photo of it, and one that we definitely know is him.
Mm-hmm.
One that's not fan art. One that's not, released, and then all the word is that it's legit, but we still don't entirely know.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I've said to you before, like I think that the whole handling of that situation was done very poorly. Like that teaser little video thing was cool, but again, it was really a tease, and it didn't show a hell of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got all the pap shots of the stunt guy, which was our first real clear look at the suit. Like that should never have happened. That should never have happened.
Although I will say the suit looked better in those shots than I think it did in the tease.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they've kind of screwed the pooch from the get-go with that one. They should have just done like a really cool reveal shot like they did with Keaton, like they did with Affleck, and just got it out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
A clear shot.
Yeah.
And then, it would take away a lot of the guesswork and the deconstructing and, but this could be Mark 1 or whatever. Like, yeah, they should have just shown the suit nice and clear.
Yeah, I agree. I'll tell you, do you know what has made me like the suit more than any photos is some of the fan art that's come out of it.
Oh, yeah, the fan art looks awesome.
Because there's been some really great art, and it is the Pattinson design, but like it just looks a little more refined, and it looks really good, and that has gotten me more excited than any of the actual photos we've seen.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, next message here is from Pastor Jasmine. It says, "Hey, was Ben Affleck's solo Batman film supposed to be like Die Hard, with Batman being trapped in Arkham Asylum, just like John McClane in the Nakatomi Plaza?" Pastor, thanks for the message. I don't know. All I know is kind of what was out there, which is it was going to be Batman and Deathstroke, but I don't know if they ever said he was going to be trapped in Arkham. I know that has been a concept that has been thrown around for a Batman movie for a long time. And I do, actually, okay, now that I'm talking about it, I do feel like there was a time where they didn't say the whole movie was in Arkham, but they did say that there was like a big chunk in Arkham.
I remember that.
Yeah. So maybe like Act 2 was him getting trapped in there, and that would have been rad.
Yeah, look, it's like you said, it's a concept that's been thrown around for a long time. It's a concept that I'd love to see come to fruition. And I know there was a talk of that Green Arrow movie like a decade ago.
Supermax.
Yeah, I mean that would have been amazing.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's the Rogues and Arkham in the big screen incarnation of the character is still something that I don't think has been tapped to its full potential.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first Arkham game, Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Was you were trapped in Arkham with everyone. So, yep, I think that it's only a matter of time before we get that in a movie, and I'm into it. All right, next message is from Devin Stanley. It says, "Hey guys, this isn't exactly Batman related, but how do you record your podcasts? Due to COVID-19, all the podcasts that I listen to are recording remotely, and they now have poor audio quality. They have constant internet trouble and are struggling with talking over each other. What's your secret? How do you guys sound so good? And then sort of Batman related, have you seen the show You? It's not amazing, but I think the lead actor, Penn Badgley, could be a great Superman if he bulked up. Thanks for the great content and helping me take my mind off current events, Devin." Devin, thank you, and we hope we can give you a little bit of an escape through talking about all this nerdy stuff. So it's our pleasure. I've not seen you, Brendan. Have you?
No, I haven't. I'm kind of trying to Google this Penn Badgley guy.
Okay, well, you do that, and I'll talk about how we record our podcast. The good thing is that we all have always recorded remotely, which is why we're used to doing it. So yeah, like we always record over Skype, and then I just record the Skype call into GarageBand on my Mac, and I edit from there. Because yeah, previous to my big move, I lived in California. Jamie lived in Indiana. Brendan lives in Australia. Some of the other guys who've been on the show, like they all live all over the darn country too. None of us live in the same place, so yeah, we've always done it remotely. I know we all have nice mics because we do this enough that we've invested in those, and we record it through Skype. And then as far as talking over each other, I think we just get used to it, like finding a rhythm.
But what?
Are you trying to be funny?
So,
be a funny guy?
Yeah.
I will say some shows we do it better than others, but I edit, and so if it gets really bad or really awkward, I will often go back and edit those out. So I guess what I'm saying is that the other podcasts you listen to are lazy.
Yeah, this Penn Badgley, I've definitely seen him around. Like I think he was in Gossip Girl and a few other things. But yeah, he was in that You show. But I think you'd definitely know him if you saw him.
Okay.
I'd like to see it.
Speaking of lazy, do you know who else is a lazy podcaster?
Jamie Drilly.
No, you.
Wait, why? What have I done?
Because when you had me on the Nightlight, the call dropped out twice, and you just left it in the episode.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, come on. Professionalism. Step your pussy up. All right. Well, Devin, I hope that helps, I guess. Next message is from Tom Fallows, and I've already failed him because he says, please pre-read this first. I didn't. Sorry, Tom, but we'll see what we can do. He says, hey, I loved your Batman ISO challenge, so thanks to Brendan for coming up with it. My question for the week is, we all love different aspects of the live-action Batsuits, like the Begins cape or Keaton's cowl, so what aspects of each suit, if put together, would make your ideal suit? Thanks, Tom. Thank you, Tom. And you know what? I don't think we had to pre-read it because we've answered this in the past, but we can do it again. Right, Brendan?
Yeah.
So if you were to cobble together pieces of the live-action Batsuits to make your ideal one, what would it be?
I think my answer last time was essentially the Affleck suit, but maybe with the yellow oval, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, the Affleck suit's just so comic accurate and spot on. I mean, but in saying that too, there. I mean, you know, we were only saying in the Batman Forever commentary, like I loved the Panther suit in that movie. I also really like the Keaton cowl in Batman Returns. I like the bulk of the Batman Begins suit. Like, there's aspects of the majority of them that I really like, but you know, my absolute favorite is the Affleck, you know, Batman Begins suit, and you know, wacky yellow oval on that, and we're done.
Yeah, I would use the Affleck suit as a base for sure. But I guess I would add the Batman Begins cape and gauntlets.
Oh, yeah.
And I would use the Batman 89 cowl and logo.
Okay.
So, yeah, there you go. All right, next message is from Buford Howard. It says, hey, do you know why the Dark Knight trilogy and Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne and Batman gets a lot of hate now? I remember everyone loved Batman Begins and The Dark Knight way back when. It seems as if people are ignoring the Nolan movies, and some saying that they even prefer Batman Forever and Batman and Robin to the Nolan trilogy. Do you know why there's so much hate for them now? Buford, thank you for the message. It's an interesting question. What do you think, Brendan? Why do you think that the Nolan trilogy gets more hate than it did back when it was released?
This is a tricky one.
It is a tricky one. It really is. Because I don't think there's a great answer.
It's one of those things. The only thing I can really sort of compare it to is I see it a lot in my James Bond fandom as well. Like, everyone was so mad when Pierce Brosnan, wasn't recast and they were going in a different direction. But then when the Craig movies have come out, people started to shit on the Pierce Brosnan movies. So I think there's an element of that to it. I mean, Batman Begins was obviously a success. It spawned 2 sequels, but it really, those movies went to a whole other dimension with The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. I know I think because the landing is so debatable, like whether he stuck the landing or not in the end of that, the last film, that raises some eyebrows as well. But I know you and and I know Guy sort of feels this way as well. Like, we've had the conversation where in some ways the Dark Knight trilogy, as good as it is and as much as I love it, don't get me wrong, kind of has done a bit of harm as well. If a movie wasn't as successful as The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises, it was kind of deemed a failure. And it also has created a whole generation of Batman fans where if the version of the character isn't that, they don't like. I saw it a lot when Batman versus Superman came out, with the whole killing thing and just the way things happen in that movie. Like, people that I worked with were like, well, Batman would never do that. Like, he just doesn't kill and I don't want to open that can of worms, but you know what I'm saying. And I'm like, well, but 99.9% of what you saw in that movie is ripped directly from the pages of a comic. And it's one of the most famous Batman comics of all time. Like, it was a very unique take on the character, and I think people sort of married themselves to it, and anything that's not that gets criticized unfairly. I think that's always sort of been my take, particularly in the last maybe 4 or 5 years. As much as I love those movies, the legacy is questionable in terms of what it's done to the character. But again, I say that as someone who's loved those movies. Do you know, I'm trying to, it's a little bit hard to articulate, but I know you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is tricky. I think there's a number of factors. First of all, I wouldn't say they get a lot of hate. I don't see them get a lot of hate. But I do understand kind of what your point is, which is the first 2 especially were like acclaimed and universally beloved upon release. Like, those 2 are just great movies, and now you do see people being like, oh, they're good, but and you don't see just that same level of love around them that you saw when they were released. So I understand what you're asking, but I have a couple of theories. First of all, yes, like when we met Ben Affleck's Batman, it seemed like there created a rift where it was almost like the Affleck Batman fans were now like all in on Affleck Batman. And part of that is going, oh, well, he's so much better than Bale ever was. And that sort of shines a negative light on what that group of fans think of Bale. I also think that your point is valid, Brendan, that like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, I still think I hear, for the most part, people love them. But yes, I feel like because The Dark Knight Rises didn't quite stick the landing for a lot of fans, that did, I think, inadvertently maybe tarnish some of the luster of the first 2 films. And I also think that, Affleck's Batman, it was new, it was exciting, and so we were so quick to move on. And
it did happen very quickly too.
Very quickly.
Affleck was announced 12 months after Rises came out.
Yeah, so quick. But the Nolan trilogy isn't old enough to be nostalgic yet, whereas
That's true too.
The Burton Schumacher films are. And the Burton Schumacher films are so different from the Nolan trilogy and then Affleck that it's still easy to go, oh God, I love those movies. because that in no way feels like it's not saying you don't love Bale or Affleck. Whereas, like, I feel like with Bale and Affleck, I feel like people almost picked sides, which I never did, because I always said I'm like
I like them both.
Yeah, I like them both. I've liked most of the live action Batman, but I think that's why. I think that give it another 15 years, and then you're going to see the nostalgia grow for the Nolan trilogy. But right now, it's still too new for people to be nostalgic for it, and it's too old for people to be excited about it.
Yeah. And like I said, it is with the Bond thing too. It's not just with movies or whatever. Like when the new person or version, whatever comes out, people tend to favor it because it's new, it's shiny, it's different, it's and you sort of you do turn away from the old one a little bit. Like I was guilty of it a little bit when Affleck was cast. Like I never crapped on Bale. Don't get me wrong, but those sort of say 2015, 16, 17, I didn't really revisit the Dark Knight trilogy all that much because I was all in on Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the 2018, the 10th anniversary of the Dark Knight, when I sat down and watched the trilogy in one sitting. And I was just like, holy shit, this is like... Bale is amazing, particularly in those first two movies. Like, in Batman Begins, like, he's phenomenal as Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll always be one of the best. So, but you always say in menus at restaurants,
Yeah.
we can't all like the same stuff, but it's all food and we can consume all of it.
Yeah. And I think that's a valid point, is you're right. Like once we were into Affleck, I didn't revisit the Nolan films for a little while because it's like, oh, we just did that. We just lived and breathed that for however many years it was, 7 years. So like, I was like, yeah, it's like, okay, we just did that. Now let's see what's next. And so what's the phrase? It's like, oh, like you've got to be gone long enough for me to miss you. And I think that's where we are with Nolan. It hasn't been gone long enough for people to miss it yet.
Mm-hmm. Which is so scary to say because Batman Begins just turned 15.
Yeah, I know. But 20 is usually the magic number.
Yeah.
So maybe in 5 years, it'll all change. All right, let's move forward. Next message is from Jesse Willis. It says, hey, in honor of the 40th anniversary of Superman 2, what are your memories when you first saw it? And for Andy and Brendan, did you know that this is the 35th anniversary of Santa Claus the movie? So Jesse, I wanted to read your email, even though I'm not going to answer your email, because we want to look back at Superman 2 in honor of its 40th. So we'll have that conversation at that time. But Brendan, because he also mentioned Santa Claus the movie, or it could have been she, it's Jesse. I don't know if Jesse's he or she. Of course we know it's the 35th anniversary. Obviously. So yeah, we'll have to figure out a way to celebrate it.
Yeah, we've done some spitballing.
True. We have. I don't know if we landed on anything, but we will find a way to celebrate because it's wonderful. But yes, we want to talk about Superman 2 in greater depth soon. Next message is from Mike. It says, hey, why do you suppose it is that people give Snyder such a hard time over the killing of General Zod in Man of Steel, but conveniently forget, another Superman 2, that in Superman 2, the good-natured and jovial hero threw a completely depowered and defenseless Zod to his death down a crevice? Seems to me that premeditated murder is more objectionable than what Zack Snyder and his Superman went through. Thank you, Mike, and I wish I had an answer for you because, my answer for you is that times have changed, and in 1980, when Superman 2 came out, everyone was just like, yeah, okay, whatever, that's fine. But these days, people have such stronger opinions when it comes to our superheroes. And now everybody's an expert and everybody knows what every superhero should do in every movie. I think that's why. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but Brendan, what do you think?
It can be summed up in one word, my friend. Internet.
Internet's gonna internet.
Yep. There was no internet in 1980, and there's an internet in 2013. So that's the difference.
Yep. But it can be frustrating, and I feel you. Next message from Tom Fallows. It says, hey, with the reveal of the villains for the Batman being villains that we've seen before, I was wondering what villain would you like to see that has not yet been seen in live action? For me, it would be the Mad Hatter. Also, what 60s villain would you like to see in mainstream comics? Tom Fallows from Liverpool. Thanks, Liverpool. Thank you, Tom. So, someone who we have not seen in live action, a Batman villain, Brendan.
Oh man, it's hard because all my favorites are being done.
I know, me too. Because he mentions Mad Hatter. I mean, technically, Mad Hatter was in the '60s show, so he has been in live action. It was a long time ago, but he has been.
And he was in Gotham as well.
Oh yeah, and he was actually really good in Gotham.
Yeah. I know your answer for the 66 is King Tut.
Correct. I've said that before. Yeah.
You know what? For 66, I want to say Egghead. I don't
Say it.
know.
I support you.
I don't know how you would do it. Translate it and update it for modern times, but it'd certainly be interesting. Just trying to think in terms of another villain that we haven't seen.
I mean, technically he was in Gotham, but barely. Clayface is probably the big one for me.
Yeah, Clayface. I mean, I know she's been live action. I do want to see Poison Ivy have another.
Well, I want to see Mr. Freeze and the Riddler, but
yeah,
but we're trying to do one that hasn't been.
We're getting the Riddler, so I think for me personally, I know yours would be Mr. Freeze, but the one I'd like to see done again after Riddler would be Poison Ivy.
And I want another Scarecrow too, but again, now we're going back to ones we've already seen. I would also say Man-Bat would be really cool.
Yeah, Man-Bat. Actually, you know what? Clayface would be cool. Just trying to think of all the rogues.
Yeah, I mean, because all the biggies have been in live action in one way or another. You know, if one hasn't been in live action, there's probably a reason. You know, no offense to Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but I'm not holding my breath to see them in a movie.
You know what? I was just about to say Black Mask, and I was like, shit.
We had him. Yep. I would have said Killer Croc, but we got him in Suicide Squad. Yeah.
I don't know. It's so funny. Questions like that you think you'd answer off the top of your head. When you start to think about it, it's like they're really not easy questions. Like I'm kind of like Batman. I need prep time.
Yeah, I know.
I'm Kevin McAllister podcasting.
Anyway, all right. Next message here is from Frank. It says, hey, since Nightwing is a hot topic this week, do you think that Nightwing should get a sidekick? I think it completes the circle. I think Dick's sidekick should be Tim Drake. It would be a great way to bring Tim Drake back to the forefront, and Dick has always been a big brother to Tim. Bruce has Damian, and Nightwing could have Tim. Thoughts on this? Thanks, and it's great to be a DC fan right now. Thanks, Frank, and thank you for the message. I love the idea. I don't know about sidekick, but like partners? Because I think Tim is too old to be a sidekick anymore, unless you like aged him down again.
I agree.
But like, I would totally subscribe to a book that's Nightwing and Red Robin, or just Nightwing and Robin, and it's the Tim Drake Robin of the two of them as partners. I like where your head's at. Brendan, what do you think?
I'd read the shit out of that. They're my two favorite Robins, so
yeah, I mean it'd be great. Yeah. I'm all for it. I love it.
I'm surprised it hasn't been done. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, there have been stories, but like as an ongoing book, I think it could be awesome. All right, we do have a few more, but like we're so close, I'm going to try and keep pushing forward. This one is from Brent Clark. Hey, Brent. He says, I heard you guys say multiple times that despite your appreciation for live-action Jokers, you don't feel we've seen the ultimate goal of a classic comic book Joker. I'm curious, what elements do you think are needed for that? And which live-action version do you think is closest? Keep up the great work, Brent. Thanks, Brent. Always good to hear from you. This is kind of a tricky one because we have said that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two elements. There's aesthetics and then there's personality.
Correct.
I think personality, I think we've gotten pretty close. I would say Cesar Romero in personality, and even Jack Nicholson, I think, in personality, I think have both been very close comic booky. And so then we're just talking aesthetics. The easiest answer is I want how he looks in The Killing Joke, the way Brian Bolland draws him in The Killing Joke. I want that in live action. I don't want a smeared makeup face. I don't want a cut smile. I don't want big latex pieces on his mouth to make a big fake smile. Like, I don't want a grill. I don't want shaved eyebrows. Like, I don't want, all of the Jokers have sort of flirted with it, but they've all felt like a spin on a classic Joker, and I'm still just waiting on the classic Joker, so...
To me, aesthetically, if you took Jack Nicholson and just like stretched him a bit,
yeah, right.
You're 99% there.
Yeah,
but it's funny with the personality thing because it's hard to say that Heath Ledger's personality wasn't there as well. But in saying that, in the last 12 years, I think comic writers have kind of changed his personality to maybe reflect the movie, kind of art influencing art.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
But I'm the same as you. I didn't have a hell of a lot of problems with what Leto did because I know that 90% of his performance ended up on the cutting room floor. I haven't disliked a live action Joker. They've all been definitely been their own unique take, but they're all missing the one that's right in front of us, which is the one from the comic book. Just do that,
Yeah.
Essentially, Mark Hamill's Joker from the animated series done in live action. That's the Joker that we have yet to see.
Yep, absolutely. Because I love, like you said, I like all the live action Jokers, even Leto. I even like Leto. I like them all, but. Yeah, they all come close in different ways, but I felt like none of them nailed it. But when we talked about the Batman ISO Challenge, or when we did the live-action DC episode, or live-action DC villain episode, I chose Jack Nicholson for both of those, because for me, he was the closest, Yep. If he had been 10 years younger and 30 pounds thinner, he probably would have nailed it. Again, I don't necessarily need the latex appliances on his face, but I think he was the closest. But I also think his plan felt the most Joker.
Definitely.
His plan of using beauty products to give everyone a permanent Joker grin, that is so Joker right from the comics. And before you write me, yes, there's, there is a precedent for what Heath Ledger's Joker did of basically calling out the deaths that were coming and then making those happen. That's right from Batman #1. I know that too. But as far as a classic Joker plot, to me, poisoning Gotham and making Gotham ugly by threatening to kill them if they try to make themselves beautiful is so Joker.
The added element to that too, and I don't know if they filmed it or if they just added it for the novel and the comic, but when he dumps all the money on the city, it's fake money.
Yeah,
with
his face
on the dollar bill. That's very Joker. It's just a shame that we never actually saw that in the movie.
Yeah, it's
it
so
was kind
weird
of
because
foreshadowed.
it was in the novelization. It was I have to think that it was just cut out for some reason.
Yeah, but that would have even added to it.
Because and it was in the comic adaptation and everything. So I hope you know what we're saying, because I like them all. But to your point, if there was a live action version of Mark Hamill's Joker, I think that's what we're looking for.
I don't know why, but I know going back a few years, though, I always thought Paul Bettany would make a good Joker. He's kind of got the face, he's really lanky and gangly, and he can play evil.
Yeah.
I always thought, little bit of prosthetic on there. I reckon he'd be pretty close.
Yeah. No, I think so too. And honestly, that's why I was so excited when Leto was cast, because he was physically the closest we had ever seen. And then they just went too far with the design.
Yeah.
So, look up a cosplayer, and I think he goes by Harley's Joker, and that's who I want in a movie. Not necessarily that guy, but like he is like right off the page. He looks amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, next message is from Elizabeth Gregory. It says, "Hey, was Demi Moore supposed to play Poison Ivy in Batman and Robin? Also, ooh, you'll like this one, Brendan. After hearing your review of the Flintstones movie on the Real Fans show, was there a plan to make Flintstones into a franchise after the first film?" Well, thank you, Elizabeth. So Demi Moore, she was one of the names that was like thrown around when they were casting, but I don't know if she ever was in conversations. I don't know if, I don't know how serious that ever was, but I know that like she was a fan cast when they announced that Poison Ivy was going to be in the next movie. I always thought she would have been great.
Yeah, I remember it might have even been on one of the documentaries that we were talking about on the Blu-rays from 2005, where, in the script she was, or the character description was, the most beautiful woman in the world.
Yeah.
So of course in Hollywood, I think Joel Schumacher said their fighting words, like everyone wanted to play that role. Like I don't remember hearing about Demi Moore. I remember Julia Roberts, but then apparently that was debunked a couple of years ago. Like it was essentially any actress who was of any notoriety in the mid to late 90s, like Sandra Bullock and, like I said, Julia Roberts, Demi Moore. They were all rumored at one stage or another.
Yeah, exactly. And of those, I always thought Demi Moore would have been the best, because I just think she would have been able to pull off a much harder edge to the character and just been a little more evil than what Julia Roberts could have done, and then even what Uma Thurman ended up doing. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it was ever a real possibility, but yes, like in the late 90s, there were a bunch of A-list actresses whose names got thrown around for Poison Ivy. She was one of them. As for the Flintstones, thank you for listening to our review on RF for RM. We hope you enjoyed it. And did they want to make it a franchise? The answer is yes, because they did make a prequel. And if you keep an eye on the RF for RM feed, we're going to talk about that sooner than later.
It's the 20th anniversary of that movie.
In fact, I watched it today to prepare. So funny you should ask. So, we will definitely be getting into their hopes of turning it into a franchise when we talk about Viva Rock Vegas. Next message here, Elder Murray. It says, "Greetings, Bat Family. I'd like your thoughts on Robert Pattinson's comments saying that his Batman is inspired by Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, Chris Evans' Captain America, and Chris Hemsworth's Thor. And also, what are your top 10 MCU movies?" Elder, thanks for the message. I did not hear the Robert Pattinson comments. Did you hear this, Brendan?
No, I didn't. That sounds really bizarre. It's just like...
It kind of sounds made up, if I'm being honest.
Like you're just throwing out random superhero names.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no thoughts on it because I didn't hear him say that, and I didn't hear anyone share that story. So I don't know what to tell you.
If it had stopped with, Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, I could see that definitely being an influence, but the other two, I don't.
Yeah, trying to combine all three of the big three from Avengers seems odd to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving you all 10 MCU films. That's a lot. That's a whole episode. So I'll tell you my top three. My top three are Captain America: The First Avenger, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and The Avengers.
Mine would be the first Iron Man. Definitely Captain America: The First Avenger. Possibly the first Guardians movie.
All right.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
But my favorite is First Avenger.
Me too.
Yeah,
I think
like
me, you, and Jamie all agree on that. Is our favorite is Captain America: The First Avenger. I just love that movie. I never get tired of it. All right, next message is from Clarence Eugene. Oh, this is what we talked about. It says, hey, with the announcement of Michael Keaton returning as Batman, do you think that Michelle Pfeiffer could return as Catwoman? She could. I don't know if she will, but she could. And again, speaking of people who like have aged wonderfully, I think she could pull it off.
Gee, someone I'd like to see suit up again.
Yeah. All right. Oh, these. See, now you know we're at the end because these are all about Michael Keaton now.
About Michael Keaton, yeah. I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, this is from Reverend Fraser. It says, hey, with Michael Keaton returning as Batman, could Tim Burton return and make his Batman 3 movie, and also direct a DC movie in the future? Thanks, Reverend. What do you think, Brendan? Do you think Tim Burton would come back?
Again, like, if you'd have asked me 24 hours ago, I'd probably answer. I don't think he'll do his Batman 3 because he can't. Like,
yeah, not the way
his
planned.
Batman 3 was.
Yeah.
No, God, no. And I mean, Robin Williams is no longer with us and everything, it's just no. But could he come back and direct a future DC movie? Yeah. Why not? Of course he could.
Yeah, he could. I don't know what his interest is, but I mean, shit, he made Dumbo. Why wouldn't he?
It's true.
I mean, and I liked Dumbo, actually. I actually thought it was pretty good, but like, if you're making a Dumbo remake, there's no reason you wouldn't come back and do a DC movie. That's probably why I liked it, is it was Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, and Danny DeVito.
Yeah, shit, and Danny DeVito. Yeah, totally forgot.
So, yeah, I mean...
Just reminded me. With the whole Michael Keaton, with Tim Burton calling Danny DeVito, saying I've got a part for you in a movie. He's like, fine, I'll get my top hat.
Right. Another one here is from Tommy Sanders. It says, hey, do you think we could also see Marlon Wayans as Robin or Billy D. Williams as Two-Face? See, like I said, it starts to unravel. People pull on the thread, and then they're like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? All of it is possible. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to get my hopes up for any of it because, and I think at this point, like Marlon Wayans, as much as I wish I would have seen his Robin back in the day, I think he's too old to be Robin now. So I feel like you just kind of leave that to the side.
Yeah.
And Billy D. Williams,
I don't think so.
Maybe. He did just play Lando, so maybe. All right, this is from Mark Bickford. It says, hey, I saw a story where J.J. Abrams supposedly might be interested in making a Superman film. But if so, he wants full casting control, which presumably means no Henry Cavill or Amy Adams. We know he's also working on Justice League Dark. And Mark Guggenheim recently said that he wanted to get Constantine and Swamp Thing together on screen for Crisis, but word came down from way up that he wasn't allowed to. Oh, I didn't hear that. I have to infer that JJ's deal was the reason for that. My question is twofold. Do you think the sudden cancellation of Swamp Thing on DC Universe was at least partially because the higher-ups were already negotiating with J.J. Abrams, where they were freeing up the property? And more deeply, how well can a filmmaker-driven shared universe really work when some of these big-name directors like J.J. and Matt Reeves want to come in and play in their own sandboxes and not interconnect with others? Also, if you want to save this for the next time that Mark Hughes is on, I don't know when that will be, and I will lose this email, so I'm sorry. I'm going to keep reading. He says, the last time he was on, he said, it's common knowledge that Barbara Gordon is in Birds of Prey. Well, number one, it wasn't common knowledge, and obviously, number two, she wasn't in the film. I'd be interested in knowing what he could tell us about that tidbit. Looking forward to your thoughts, Mark. Thank you, Mark. So interesting questions about Swamp Thing and Superman and J.J. Abrams. Brendan, what do you think before I tell you what I think?
I'd like to see JJ direct a Superman movie. But in saying that, I really want Henry Cavill to be Superman. Mm-hmm. But again, dude, all bets are off after the last 24 hours. Who knows? But yeah, at the end of the day, I really don't give a shit who directs it. I just want to see a really good Superman movie with Henry Cavill in the lead role. That's my main want when it comes to that character. Mm-hmm. I don't really have strong feelings whether it's JJ or not. Like, I know JJ's a good director, and he had a crack at Superman previously, but yeah. And the whole Swamp thing, like, I don't know, like, I feel like that all went down long before the JJ inking a deal with Warner Brothers thing happened.
Yeah. It's an interesting theory because I didn't even consider that, but yeah, I guess it's just another theory to throw into the conspiracy pile because who knows? I agree with you. Like, I think J.J. Abrams could make a really fun Superman movie, but I don't want him writing the script, and I don't know if he would direct one if he couldn't write the script. So, I don't know. I'm not the biggest JJ fan. I think he makes really entertaining and fun movies, but I think the story always falls short, which is why I said I think he could direct a really fun, crowd-pleasing movie as long as the story is someone else's. But your bigger question is if these directors want to play in their own sandboxes, how does this work for the greater good? I think that goes back to what we talked about earlier, is if they introduce the multiverse, you can do whatever you want. And I think that's the price you pay with with wanting to get great talent, but you don't want to force them into a shared universe. And I think that they are having it both ways right now, and I think that's what they have to do. Because, yeah, if JJ wants to make a Superman movie, but his condition is, well, I don't want it to be shared. Or if Matt Reeves says, yeah, I want to make a Batman movie, but I don't want it to be part of this continuity because I want to do my own story. This allows them the freedom to say, okay, because they want those filmmakers making movies at their studio. But if there's now a multiverse, then you go, yeah, it frees you up to give people the freedom that they want to make the movies that they're interested in making. And it still can be a part of the overall thing. But I think that's why you don't see as many big name directors sign up over at Marvel. I think some of them become bigger directors, but it's because they're given a smaller box to play in there because they have to fit into the overall story. Whereas,
and they also get them cheap.
Well, there are many reasons, but yeah, like it's if you want a filmmaker who is a celebrity in their own right, they're going to want more freedom than that.
Yeah.
As for the Barbara Gordon thing, yeah, I mean, we'd have to ask Mark, but I mean, there are two theories. Theory number one is maybe he just got a bad rumor. You know, it happens to us all. I don't think he was the only one saying that was possible. And I think we all said it was possible because it was the same writer. So maybe it was a rumor, or maybe it was like speculation that became a rumor, but it never was real. Or maybe when they went into filming, they're like, you know what? We don't know what's going to happen with the Batgirl movie, so let's not even go there, and they cut her out.
Mm.
What do you think?
6 to 1, half a dozen the other, really.
Yeah. All right, this is the last email. Woo! This is from our pal Chris Knowles. Here's what he says. Do you think... Oh, see? do you think that Keaton returning as older Bruce Wayne will be a backdoor setup for a live-action Batman Beyond? And Brendan, who do you think would win in a fight between a suitless and gadgetless Bruce Wayne and James Bond with whatever equipment that you would like? Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Chris. So, do you think this could set up a Batman Beyond in the future?
Oh, I mean, definitely. I think that'd be foolish not to explore it. I think I've made it clear it's not something I particularly want to see, but it definitely opens the door for it. Right.
Nope, I agree with you. It absolutely could. Whether or not they will is another story entirely. And then you tell me, would a Bruce Wayne minus all gadgets be able to defeat James Bond with all the gadgets?
Well, probably not, because Bond would have a Walther and just shoot him.
Oh.
But I mean, it'd be cool to see a hand-to-hand fight between the two of them.
Who do you think would win just no gadgets at all?
Oh God, probably Bruce, just because of the all the different martial arts training that he's had.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I agree. I think it'd be Bruce. Okay. But you think that, yeah, the gadgets for Bond would allow him to succeed?
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see them both kitted up with, all the tools of their trades. That'd be really interesting to see.
You know what? That sounds like a comic book idea. Batman and Bond. How has that not happened yet?
I know there's a lot of fan fiction stories out there. I may have even tried to write one myself about 5 years ago, and got 3 chapters in. It was just like I was happy with what I did, but I'm just like this isn't. I'm not a writer. I'll leave that to the professionals, but it is something I'd love to see. And like I've said, I've got my Michael Keaton standing in my living room. Right next to him is Pierce Brosnan. So my Batman and Bond, they're right there beside one another. So I see them teamed up every single day.
Awesome. Cool. Well, guess what? We caught up on emails. Thank you. Woo! Thank you, Brendan, for hanging in there, and thank you everybody listening for hanging in there as well. But I feel so accomplished. It always feels so productive when that happens. So that's it for the Wayne Manor Mailbox. Thank you guys for writing in as always. If you've got a message for the Wayne Manor Mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. But that's where we're going to wrap up this episode of the show. This tons of news, man. This was a heavy one. There was a lot going on. So
yeah, and we didn't even mention the Spotify deal that Warner Brothers announced the other day, where they're going to do scripted podcasts with, DC properties and everything. Like
so much. So yeah, as
that's
somebody said,
that excited me. So
yeah, as someone said, it's a good time to be a DC fan. Like lots happening, and can't wait for August 22nd. I got to tell you that.
Oh God, yeah.
So anyway, this one goes out to Denny O'Neill and to Joel Schumacher. We love you both. Thank you for everything you've done, and then we will continue trying to carry on the legacy of the Caped Crusader. Brendan, thank you, as always, for joining me, especially for these last-minute ones when news drops. Jamie, we miss you. He's sleeping soundly, I'm sure. Well, actually, by now he's awake, but yeah, the troubles of scheduling. But Brendan, thank you, as always.
Not a worry, my friend.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Loey007, same on Instagram. You can find my podcast, The Nightlight, at nightlight.podbean.com, facebook.com/The Nightlight, or at NightlightPod on Twitter.
All right, nice. I already told you where to find me, but thank you as always for joining us and for downloading the show. Please do subscribe so you never miss an episode, and please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Visit holybatcast.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, Holy BatCast. Again, the email address for the Wayne Manor Mailbox is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. So that will do it on behalf of Brendan and Jamie, who's resting. I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by real fans for real movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
Don't kill me, man!
I'm not going to kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.